When I was 17, I was warming up on a pommel horse, just slipped my hand and snapped my elbow off. That was the end of my career.
Entrepreneur, you're gonna deal with pain, dark places, and loneliness.
That alone changes people's mindset. If you place that impossible goal, you raise your ceiling because you're going to make decisions to hit this impossible goal.
The same thing, an extra 5% of energy, I got a double result. Entrepreneurs say it's like, the only kind of regret is not thinking big enough.
Complain about everything. No, it's to grow as individuals.
At 24 years old, I was let go of my corporate job. By 34, I was financially free with an 8-figure net worth. This podcast is all about taking adversities and turning them into financial success stories. I'm gonna ask for one small favor, and that's for you to click subscribe. Now let's get to the journey.
Kyle, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Excited?
I am, yeah.
Well, you have a nice shirt on.
I appreciate it. I saw your videos and I saw your podcast and I wanted to do the same, and I thought it'd be a topic of conversation.
So do you wear it for why do you wear the same shirt at events or podcasts or?
So when I first started doing content, which was only in 2025, I actually wore a couple of suits for the first amount of contents for the video shoots and everything. And then I thought to myself, I was like, that's not even me. Like, I don't like wearing suits. I'll wear them to a formal event and I like feeling handsome and all that stuff. And I still have lots of suits, but I like to feel casual and comfortable and everything else. And so I started wearing this shirt that obviously is the same one that you had, sponsored by Lululemon.
Yeah, I know. Like this podcast should definitely be sponsored by Lululemon, 100%.
Yeah, but so I kept it going for a little while, and I thought in my simple mind, and like, so I'm an accountant by trade. I focus. I'm an entrepreneur. I have no specialties in marketing. I thought that if I had something consistent, it would resonate with like the crowds and other individuals saying like, oh, that's Kyle. Like I know that shirt or that person or the personality. So I was trying to connect the two. Don't know if it's something that I'm overthinking, but
No, and I resonate with that a lot because I've been watching Alex Hormozy
Yep.
a lot, who's obviously an entrepreneur, and he wears his logo
his muscle shirt
and his muscle shirt everywhere. And it's just, you know what you're going to get every time you're with him.
Yeah.
And every podcast episode I've worn this, and now it's becoming a consistency for every episode. And people are now actually commenting like, oh, I'm getting the same result, or now I know what to expect in the episode. And it's just small tweaks
Neat.
of content marketing that works with an audience. So I think you're on trend.
Awesome.
And I have to say that because if I don't, then I'm definitely not on trend. So
I've noticed it too with like with a couple of the big figureheads. Like, so Alex is one of them, Dan Martell. Even if you like Gary Vee was like wears his ball caps. Like there's all the big hitters or the major players. They do have the like a uniform, you can say it. It's their professional uniform that they wear.
And it's funny because the space we've been in the finance accounting space, that is not typical. The typical is the suit and tie.
Yeah.
Just, looking the part, even though maybe you don't communicate the part or you don't have the skill for that part. Like there's a lot of people that show up. I always think of golf, like people that play golf, they come on the tee and they look the part. And then they golf and they're shit. And I think about that in business too. A lot of people look the part, but then I'm like, their advice is like, I don't know, that doesn't resonate with me at all.
Yeah, there's a happy medium between all that, because as an entrepreneur and a young entrepreneur, when I was first starting out, it's you need to look the part or people don't take you serious. It's only until you can build up that business acumen or that repertoire of information or experience that you can actually start to, whether it's feeling comfortable in your own skin or feeling comfortable in your own clothes or environment. But I remember being like that though too, as a young entrepreneur. It was like, I need to wear the slacks, I need to wear a dress shirt, I need to everything, and again, I still do. That's not out of my wardrobe, but it's I do like to feel comfortable. I do like to be wearing like a t-shirt when I need to get down and dirty in the numbers, just because like I just want to focus on that, and I don't want to I don't know. I guess I just want to be comfortable.
And it's funny because when I started out, I did the same thing. It was a suit and tie, and I wanted to be light and feel
Yeah.
professional
Yeah.
and overcompensated with the look. Now I don't give a fuck. And I'm showing up how I want to show up. And if people don't like the content, then it is what it is. So tell me a little bit about you. Like, how did you start? When did you start? You're obviously an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
multiple businesses,
So
family.
yeah, a lot going on. I would describe myself as like a serial entrepreneur. But coming out of university, was obviously educated in accounting and got my designation right away. I was trying to figure out what avenue to go into, whether it was CA or CMA in the accounting realm. One of them is like CA is goes towards the firms where you need audit and you need tax hours and everything else. And I walked into one of those firms and I saw the stuff for audit and I was like, I just can't do it. My wife, bless her heart, she is an auditor. She does love that stuff. And there are the people that are great at it. I was not. I can audit something. I can dive into something and find it. I just cannot do that on a day-to-day basis. That wasn't in my blood. So I went into the CMA realm, which basically started my, I guess,
Well, before we get there,
yeah.
was the first date about numbers? Like having two accounts in a household, like
So
it must be.
dinner conversation is
Yeah,
pretty fun.
yeah,
Talk about amortization
yeah.
and tax.
Depreciation and the new tax rules.
Yeah. The fun part though, we actually met at a CrossFit gym.
Just geared towards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So we actually met at a CrossFit gym. And after a couple of years, I then opened a CrossFit gym. So that was one of my. It was a passion that her and I shared separately, and then met there. And then that passion also turned into one of my businesses that I had started.
Okay, so start with fitness and health
Fitness,
versus numbers
fitness and
and
health.
depreciation.
Yeah, that goes way back though. So I was a gymnast as a child.
Oh, nice.
So through adolescence, trained for went into provincials, training for nationals. The goal was to go to the Olympics. When I was 17, I was warming up on pommel horse, just slipped my hand and snapped my elbow off. That was the end of my career.
Oh, shit.
So that just the recovery off that one was going to be too long, and the amount of work that I need to put into it to get to that next level was substantial. So
And what age was that at?
I was 17.
Right.
Yeah.
Because for gymnasts, if you didn't make it by,
Well, it's all about strength and conditioning and everything else that like you'd have to start going. Like I've never actually done a study or research on the typical age of a successful Olympian in gymnastics. I know that they're obviously all the colleges and everyone gets brought up through high school and then through colleges for those programs, and like their education is built into their fitness realm. But I just felt it wasn't gonna work out for me, and so but fitness was always important to me. That was so as a child.
and when you trained to want to become an Olympian, like what discipline, like what have you taken from that to business? Do you
Uh,
reflect on that at all?
yeah. So I brought it into I brought it into CrossFit too. So like
Mm.
CrossFit is when you're doing a workout and it's really hard or really long, like it's you have to go into a dark place or focus on something and just get through it because there's some tough aspects. And it's the get so layers of focused on something on the finish. You know where the finish is going to be, and there's so many things that are going to be in front of you, but you have to get there. And so if you know where that end is, focus on it and just push through everything. And so I feel like that has given me a leg up on certain challenges in life.
Yeah.
And we all have kind of um, those lessons that we learn through our childhood or through adolescence or our young adulthood and into adulthood. Those are one of those.
Yeah, because when you're a serial entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, you're gonna deal with pain.
Oh yeah.
And those dark places and loneliness and all that happens. And
Yeah.
I think if you don't train your mind to be ready for it, it's those problems become bigger problems.
Yeah, it's the one thing that they don't talk about entrepreneurship, and they should probably in schools more or in mentorships. Uh, it is an iceberg. Like you only see the surface. Everyone sees the kind of the fame, the opportunities, all that stuff. They don't see the levers, the gears, the pulleys that go behind the scene, and there's a lot. Um, but if that's what we chose and what lights us up, then that's what
And,
keeps going.
and at the end of the day, that's where the unlimited opportunity is,
Yeah,
in entrepreneurship. So
yeah,
it's just part of the game.
yeah,
So you met your wife at CrossFit.
yeah,
Um, she saw your workout. She couldn't resist. Then what
yeah.
happened?
Um, Well, that was it's a fun story of I told her that I was an accountant and she was becoming an accountant when she didn't believe me, so she Googled me actually
Oh,
at the time,
really?
which kind of funny. So like this is like we're talking 11 years ago,
Mm.
um, and so I didn't have a huge digital presence at that particular time, but she did find me ultimately, and so she's like, okay, this guy's not bullshit. And that went from there. But I would say 10 years ago, that's what kind of really got me into working with different mentors, different colleagues that started to show me different industries and aspects and levels of professionalism that anybody can choose to get to. So you can choose to operate at one particular level. You can choose to operate at a totally other one. If you want to get to 30,000 foot, you have to get into some other realms and have a different mindset. But that probably was the kind of the kickoff was about 11 years ago, and since then it was uh, operating businesses, working with other clients, working with companies that are scaling. Um, I'd say even just right now, we probably have like 70 entities kind of under some sort of management operation or ownership. It's
And what company is that?
so there's many of them, but I guess one of the ones that we could focus on is Soutar Capital and Consulting, and so that's my business that we offer fractional CFO services. Um,
What is a fractional CFO?
So a CFO is a chief financial officer of an organization. Um, m- Majority of the large organizations have a CFO. They operate right beside the CEO. They are, in most cases, the right hand person to that CEO, giving them the financial information, giving them some guidance, being that thought partner. Because they do have an overview of all things finance and typical operations as well. And one of the things that I've seen as an opportunity in the market is that the small to medium sized businesses don't have that capital to hire a CFO for 200 $250,000 $300,000, and they can hire a fractional CFO who's done a lot of what they've done or what they're doing, so they can solve their problems. Um, and we're doing it for arguably a fraction of the price. And so we sit with our clients on minimum twice a month. We do tactical reviews for their operational process in their businesses. We do financial reviews every month as well, and we do goal setting. We do everything for them.
So let's give a scenario of I am a business owner and I do $1 million in revenue and I want to grow to $5 million.
Okay.
What's the step-by-step process? So I need help and mentorship and not knowing where my back end systems are. I, I'm I'm a technical entrepreneur,
Okay.
but I want to grow and eventually sell.
Yep.
Is that an ideal client for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you're a client that's a million top line, you're looking to 5x. You have a system obviously in place because you've made $1 million in revenue on an annual basis. So you have something there. Uh, from that standpoint, not knowing the specifics or the industry and everything else, but it would be a review of what their financials have been. And so get that snapshot of what the history has been. And so
And are you looking at their tax returns?
looking at everything, yeah. So all financial statements, tax returns, anything that's been done. We look at their partnerships agreements, their legal documents to understand their business, their org charts, everything. We do that deep dive. We do our due diligence to understand our clients because, well, the banks do it too. You need to know your clients, and so we put that at the forefront. We need to know our client.
So I'm thinking of the business owner that has just started a business got to $1 million, not knowing how,
Okay.
and is not trusting the tax returns or the back end to even have visibility.
Okay.
What do you recommend for that person before you have the overall picture? What would you recommend that they do?
So that one would be, well, one, we still need to review all the financials. So we need to understand their business. Um, by reviewing what historically was done, we can make sure that it reconciles with the kind of the tax lists, with the tax strategies, because it also has to do with the strategy of what the business is intended for.
Would
If
you do that year cleanup or the couple year of cleanup?
yeah, so that's always part of the goal setting that we do with any
Okay.
clients. And so a young entrepreneur starts a business, they make $1 million in revenue. A lot of entrepreneurs won't think of the structure. They won't think of their org chart. They might not have a hold co. They might not have, if they had some land and a building on it, they might not have stripped the land out and put it under one hold co and then operate the business as something separate so that they actually have some tax advantages in that particular circumstances, whether it's current circumstances or in future. And so that's where we would come into play to do that kind of goal setting. Um, but absolutely, we look at all the historical data. We talk to them saying, like, what is your goal? What was your goal? Like, did you have a different vision originally, which would explain what's happened historically? And what's your vision now? What do you want to see in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What do you want to see out of your family? And it's those goals that, if you can integrate that into the business, the success that entrepreneur, that founder, that owner would have is astronomical. Because uh, a lot of people spend a ton of time building a business. They don't necessarily spend the same amount of time building a life. And
Mm,
so if you can marry those two and saying, so yes, everyone has their business goals. If I asked any kind of entrepreneurs, like, what's your business goal? They can tell me, I want a 5x, 2x, I
right.
want this. We're like, okay, what's your life goal? What's your home goals? Like, have you and your partners talked about that? Do you have children? Do you have goals for them? Like, and everything else. And so if you can map those first and then put the business into those, it's amazing the harmony that happens between the, like, kind of that work life balance. Even though it's not work life balance for a lot of entrepreneurs that we know, it's more of there has to be harmony between the two. And if it's working, absolutely, then that's what will light that person up.
I think you also have an advantage that your wife probably understands this stuff, where
Yeah,
you could like, hey, let's set up a holding company and the tax plan on that,
yeah,
and you protect us from the audit perspective, and
yeah,
I'll set up the org and let's just bang it out.
yeah.
People that are maybe less fortunate.
Yeah. We have
Um,
an unwritten rule though that
okay.
uh she doesn't work with me on anything because
Okay.
we keep kind of the church and state separate.
Well, but so back to the point, I think that is a very valid point of these business owners. And I when I started my business, I just thought growth, 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 growth. Let's just grow. Let's
Yeah.
just grow. Not thinking of the life. Um,
Why are you growing it?
why am I growing?
Yeah.
What's the family trust? What's all of those set up?
Yeah.
Because doing it at the front end will save you tens of thousands or hundred thousands
Yeah.
later on,
Yeah.
if you don't do it properly. But also, when you're consulting with these business owners, are you getting them to bring in their family members to have those deeper conversations, or it's like a one-to-one and then
No,
one to many?
we've had those conversations and saying, like, with a founder saying, bring your partner into this so that we can, one, they can hear about the
Yeah.
business side, because they might not ever know about the business. They just might hear about it at the dinner table of the problems, the challenges, or a couple of wins here and there, but we don't always celebrate our wins as much as we might complain about our challenges. But so yeah, inviting the partner into the business side of things, not necessarily to talk about the business. Yes, we can still high level it, but it's this is what we're doing here because we want to do this here. Does that align with our household, with our household goals, with our travel goals, or our aspirations of starting something new with a family, or the traditions and everything?
So it's pretty cool because you're talking about tax, you're talking about accounting, you're talking about bookkeeping, you're talking about finances, you're talking about the all-in-one shop for these business owners.
Yeah,
Is that how you categorize yourself?
I would say so. Yeah, and that's where we're trying to be that thought partner, the strategic leader that can join the team Again, at the fractional, like a fraction of what the cost would be, but the value is exponential. Um, we had a client that even within the first couple of months, we brought in over $100,000 into that client just because they didn't know they had access to certain funds.
Mm.
And so those are the people don't know what they don't know,
Yeah.
and that's all. We're all like that. I have topics that I don't know about, and I'm gonna do the shirt with one of them.
Yeah.
That's an example. Like
Yeah.
there's certain thing that we always try to rely on other people. Well, that's what we're trying to be for entrepreneurs and founders. We are supposed to be their sounding board for everything and anything finance related, but we also do. We've worked with many different structures, whether it was a GP/LP structure, a mutual trust fund, whether it was a corp, a holdco, an investco, all these things, family trusts, as you mentioned earlier. Um, bring all that stuff in, and then bring the life value stuff too to it, saying like, hey, I've grown a business and been successful with this, and I have multiple businesses, and this is my pinch points and pain points, and this is what I've done to mitigate it, and you can bring those life lessons into with your clients, and then they can learn from them as well. So
I could tell this is a passion for you because
yeah,
you just
yeah,
light up. Now you're talking strategy. You're
yeah.
talking because there must be a huge benefit for the like. How do you convey that benefit to the business owner of value without them seeing what the value could be?
And that's I find that's the toughest part, is to show them the value when it might not be their language. And so like you can't mix love language with this language, but like numbers and how a business operates is another language to me, where I can talk to another accountant and just start diving deep into it, and we will know what each other is talking about. But if you're talking to an entrepreneur that is very technical, they are process oriented, they have the product, they have the passion, but they might not have the back end stuff. They might see it as, yeah, whatever, we might not need that, or I know about it, but I'm not comfortable with it yet. And that's where I do find that the toughest part is to convey the value adds to another individual kind of right off the hop. Um, that's also why we look for clients that have that growth mindset. And so if an entrepreneur or a founder comes to us, they have a growth mindset, they want to learn, they want to hear feedback, they want to hear that constructive criticism, they want to do better, and essentially, and that's what we're here for. And uh, the team of CFOs that is behind Soutar Capital right now is phenomenal.
Let's talk about that team.
Yeah.
So who are the team? Like how many specialists do you bring in? I guess you do the initial.
So then, yeah. So I would say that I would I I kind of run all the sales right now, which is not well, as an entrepreneur, you kind of wear all the hats.
Well, it's funny. The sales is the hardest part to get out of.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's one of the last ones that you would evolve out of once you've kind of grown into a different size of a business.
Yeah.
So I kind of lead all the sales and the onboarding. Once the client is onboarded and with Soutar Capital, I fit them with the right CFO. So it's the individual that is specific into a market, specific into a task, or what the goal is of that particular client. And we have presidents, CEOs, CFOs, chief strategy officers, past entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs. It's really neat to plug them into another business, and the wealth of information that gets disseminated to the client at that point. And furthermore, so like that's the lead on that particular client. We still have our team at Soutar Capital that we are sounding boards for each other. So if you were a CFO with Soutar Capital and you had a client and they had a challenge that you might not necessarily know exactly how to solve, but you're like, I have an idea. This is what I'm thinking, guys. You can bring it to our board and say, this is what I'm thinking. And we would bounce it back and forth and say, absolutely, that's exactly what it is. Or have you tried this? And like, excellent. So you're getting the fleet of people. You're getting a brain trust. You don't see it all, but we also want to provide the best services for everyone. We want every entrepreneur to be successful. That's the only goal for us. It has to be a win-win.
And there's two parts of that kind of trigger my mind. Is one, it must enhance your entrepreneurial skills being around other entrepreneurs and getting their feedback about businesses that they're consulting on
Mhm.
to enhance you. So you're always leveling up too.
Yeah.
The second thing is egos. Like there's a lot, I just sense there's a lot of, is it more dominantly male egos in the room, or do you have a mix of female and males, or
For the CFO team?
yeah, your CFO,
Yeah,
like how do you, is there a lot of back and forth? So like my idea is better than yours, and
oh no,
no,
no, not in that perspective.
okay,
No, everyone, I think everyone has that level of maturity now. I guess whether it's in the cohort that we are in or that we're surrounding ourselves with, um, and it's not competitive. I guess that also stops that.
okay.
So it's more collaborative than competitive because
Is that one of your core values, or it's not even?
it is, yeah.
Okay.
And just like our clients, how we ask them and
Yeah,
need them to be growth mindset, like have a growth mindset, we do too, though. And so that's where if we can't ask a client or tell a client saying like we only focus on individuals that have a growth mindset and not do it ourselves.
right.
Like me personally, uh, I read tons of books because there's always something to learn. I try to bend the ear of other colleagues or professionals or people that are always above me, beside me, or below me in any job role or position. I always try to get more information because you're only as good as the kind of the people around you and what you know.
And if you're a business owner right now, without giving all your secret sauces away,
Yeah.
walk me through a journey of what high level a business owner should think of at the start, during, and from a growth perspective. Like at the start, should they think about a family trust, or should they think about incorporating and adding a holding company to it?
Yeah. That's interesting. There's a couple of different
Just like high topic
yeah.
levels.
There's a couple field of thought on that one though. The trusts are expensive. And so to build that up, so if you knew you were getting into something with a lot of liability, you already foresee that liability. You have the capital to fund the accounting, legal, and regulatory requirements for a trust. Then yeah, absolutely, you can do that. First and foremost, when you're starting a company, it's you incorporate, have it under a corporation. You would typically want to have your ownership held by a holdco as well, just to separate yourself from the company so that you are not directly owning the company. Just from, and those are just, again, like these are just some
Yeah.
high level ones where you can tax plan much more strategically if you just created that kind of a structure right off the bat.
So right now, operating company, holding company.
Yeah. Yeah, right off the bat. You can always plug in a trust
Afterwards.
afterwards and at the most strategic point in time. Um, that's where the lines of communication have to be with like working with your professionals, you working with your accountants, working with your lawyers. You have to tell them what you're thinking. You have to tell them what you want to do, what your goals are, so that they can help guide you and give you the expertise. So yeah, so somebody starting out, it would be having that good legal structure put in place, knowing how it's going to operate, systematize everything as much as you possibly can,
Meaning what?
putting policies and procedures in place, and like they could be paper napkin stuff for the time being, or on a Google Doc, or just on your Apple Notes. But putting some stuff in place where if you hired the next person, you just copy and paste or just show them saying, "This is how we do it. This is how I've been doing it," and then you've started. Yes, when you want to scale a business, if you want a 5x or 10x a business, you do need to have all your systems in place. You do need to have it organized so that when the next person comes in, it's seamless and they know exactly what to do as well.
Would you say the top 2 or 3 different policies you should have in place, like employment agreement, engagement letter, like any top?
Yeah, so it's like yeah, so if you are like service oriented, yes, you're gonna have to have that kind of that agreement put in place for all your clients that are going to be coming in. For your staff, or if you're doing contractors, you need that employment contract or independent contractor agreement put in place. Um, those are, I classify those as kind of the legal docs, the legal packages
Okay.
of organizing them, of your agreements. I'm for policies and procedures. I often kind of categorize those as the departments. So like whether it's operations, sales, marketing, finance, and having those systems in place. Legal would be a department as well, and like those would be plugged into those.
Gotcha.
I guess it's a little more systematic there because once that document's created, that's the one you're using. However, employment agreements evolve on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you got to stay on top of those.
And that's a very good point. Like, I didn't realize how often you should be updating your employment agreements. Like, it should be yearly, every 2 years, like a lawyer, because there's so many things that change.
Yeah.
And those agreements might not even mean anything a couple of years after you do it.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because you spend so much money getting them created. And in order for an employee to actually sign it, you have to give them something.
Yep.
Even if it's a Tim Hortons card, a raise, whatever it is for them to sign, there's a lot of complications around that. So now we have the structure.
Yeah.
Now we have the policies and the departments.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
You have a product or a service, right? And so it's refining that product or service. There's a lot of school of thought on the more you niche in a particular segment, industry, or classification, the higher probability of scalability you'll have. It's harder to scale 10 things as opposed to if you scale the one thing. So that's one thing that, well, I guess as a serial entrepreneur, I challenge. That's a challenge for me. So I have a hard time niching into something because I might have a gym that I operate. I might have a real estate company, a consulting company, and so you're getting pulled into multiple directions. But for an entrepreneur that has their one company, it's trying to refine what they're doing and doing it the best outside of anybody else.
I love that because then you know your ideal client. So your marketing materials there, you can scale because you know the repetitive process around that.
Yeah.
And being a generalist right now is, I think, even harder to do because there's so much information out there going around that and it's kind of like spraying all your content without speaking to one person.
Yeah.
So if you really hit your vertical or your niche and go deep into that person,
Yep.
and going back to Lululemon, I listened to the owner of Lululemon, and his ideal client was like a 32-year-old surfer dude. Like, they broke him. So I don't think that resonated. Well, definitely I can't surf, so it might resonate with you, but
Done it once in my life.
There you go. So it might not resonate. So they definitely branched out from there. But their first target market was a single person. They knew the age, they knew the demographic, and then they based their clothing around that.
Okay.
So to your point of, okay, now know your service, know your product, kind of hone in on your craft.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you've honed in on your craft, then what should happen?
That's where kind of the scaling comes into place. And so if you have your systems in place, you have your product, your service that you've niched in, that you focused and you're laser focused on, the delivery of it is flawless, and it's the best that it can possibly be. It would be scaling the business. And so what are the steps that the question to any client or entrepreneur at this point is like, what are the steps that you need to take to scale? Is like, do you need to increase your sales right now? Is your sales funnel not wide enough? Is it getting bottlenecked? Okay, that's where we're going to focus on sales. Then once sales happens, there's still going to be an onboarding process to whatever that product or service is. And it kind of, that onion keeps going further and further out. So it can go from the sales and marketing to onboarding to personnel, to delivery of product or service at the end of the day, and focusing on that. And that's where scalability comes in. It's hard to talk about how to scale a business if we don't talk about the actual company itself. But I read a fun book recently, and I'm actually on the second read of it just because like it lit me up, like it fucking like lit a fire under me.
Nice.
It was the Science of Scaling by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I don't know if you've read it or not.
No.
Holy shit! Like everyone needs to read that if they're an entrepreneur and trying to grow something. That right there is a very interesting book.
Why?
It's the philosophy and psychology behind it. So there's science behind all this. That they describe it ultimately as the impossible goal. You set an impossible goal. There's been literature and studies before this. I forget what it was actually called, what other people had dubbed it, but Hardy had called it an impossible goal. And so if you're talking to an individual saying, so they're at $1 million, and then you say, what's your goal in 10 years? They're like, oh, I want $10 million in revenue. It's like, excellent. Okay. Why not in 5 years? What do you have to do? What would you have to do right now to get $10 million in sales in 5 years? And naturally, as a business owner, an entrepreneur, a founder, you'd say like, okay, we'll think through this, and you'll come up with, I would need to hire in this department, do this, refine this, and focus on this. Great. What would you have to do if you did it in 3 years? And then like, oh, okay, now I'd have to sell this. I'd have to not do this anymore and have to focus over here. Like, okay, so those are all doable. So how can you get to $10 million in 2 years then? Like, can you? Do you think you could? And it's having those conversations. And if you place that impossible goal in your sights, and that's the target, you raise your ceiling. Sorry, you raise your floor.
Yeah.
You set your ceiling, and then it'll start to drive towards that because you're going to make decisions to hit this impossible goal. And it's as wild the stories, the clients he's worked with. He used JFK as like a reference to that particular circumstance of like going to the moon and everything. It was a very, very interesting book. Tony Robbins does the intro on it because he said that he wished he wrote this 10 years ago or something. I forget what it was, but.
And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs say. It's like, the only kind of regret is not thinking big enough.
Yeah.
Like not thinking, like being limited by your mindset versus, having that abundance thinking.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that. When I bought multiple businesses throughout the 10 years of growing my business. And the first business I bought was, let's just say 5 employees, $500,000. The second business that I bought, let's say, is $1 million, 15 employees. The effort for this one to this one was the exact same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to deal with employments. I had to deal with legal. I had to deal with accounting. I had to deal with finance. I had to deal with personalities. I had to deal with clients. The same thing. So an extra 5% of energy, or let's say 10% of energy, I got a double result doing the same thing.
Yep.
Just thinking a little bigger on that.
Yeah.
So you take that, your example, and now you say, hey, I want to 10x it. Well, that $5 million business and that $500,000 business is very similar.
Yeah, it's almost evident saying like, look how what you can do with them.
Right. With just having a different goal and a different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a fun book. I read that a couple months ago, and then I just restarted it because again, it just lights me up every time.
So it sounds like when the business owner has these things somewhat in place, you come in, you make sure that they're in place, then you take them to another level.
Yeah, we focus on growth. We always focus on growth. What they've done with their business, we can look at it, we can take a snapshot. Any accountant can. Anybody worth their salts can look at the business and say like, this is exactly what you did. Obviously you had a peak here, a lull here. You have your seasonal stuff, or you're pretty status quo. That's great. So we understand what the past is. That should be a fraction of the time. The focus needs to be on what are our goals? Are they outside of the company for a life goal or a business goal? And how are we going to reach those goals? So we set them at a quarterly basis, and we say, this is what we want to do in Q1, Q2, Q3. And so we have those larger goals, and maybe there's something in a year that we have a goal for. And then on a monthly basis, with our tactical calls or our financial calls that we have with all of our clients, we make sure that we are getting the right steps to get to those goals, to hit the quarterly goals or the annual goals or semi-annual ones, to the point where if they want to, we do have a client that says like, I want a 10x. So, okay, this is what we need to do. Yeah,
let's fucking go.
I was like this. Let's put this to the test. And so, if you want to 10x your company, you got to focus not only on your consulting, but you have to focus on your product. You have to do your product, develop your product as strongly as you possibly can. Get that out the door, because in their particular industry, it's competitive, and so you need to make sure that you are keeping the lights on, because that's still important. But the one thing that's going to help you scale, you also need to make sure that that is going to get the right amount of horsepower to get you to that next level. Yeah. So
That's the fun part.
that's the fun part. And
What is holding a lot of entrepreneurs back? Is it the money part? Is it the mindset?
I'd
Is
say
it
mindset. I'd say mindset is a lot of people's uh, constraint, because if you're only as good as the people around you. And so if you started to get a mastermind of just your friends together, and you had structured conversations, and it wasn't specifically about sports or the weekends or family and stuff, and they were actually just like kind of you did them as like the old school salons, and like you had conversations about ideas, whether it was marketing or content or finance or legal or economies and stuff like that. That alone changes people's mindset. They start to have that more cooperative, um ambitious mindset of, oh, this can be done, and it's not to get together to poo poo on things and to just like complain about everything. No, it's to grow as individuals, and I don't think we do that enough.
and you must be an example of that, of like a growth mindset,
I
serial
I
entrepreneur.
try, I certainly do, yeah.
And what do you do? Like, give me a tactical thing that you do to get your mindset to think bigger.
Um, so one of the things that I've done over the past couple of years is try to absorb as much information from other widely known professionals. So like whether it was negotiations, or so I can list off all the books, and like you probably have read either most or half of them, or a handful of them, and other professionals would probably be the same in that
So
particular.
it's continuous education,
Yes, like
and
absolutely.
a book a week, a book a month. Like how often are you diving
So,
into
and
a
when
book?
I say books, I do all audiobooks,
Okay.
because it's only when I'm in the car, because as an entrepreneur, I'm often heads down, either in one of my companies, working with a client, trying to onboard somebody, doing something else. Like I
And
have a hard time pulling myself away and reading a book,
right.
honestly.
And this is gonna be your favorite audio, like moving forward, this
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly. Yeah.
You're gonna keep banging out in the morning.
Yeah.
So you do audio
Yeah.
whenever you can.
Yeah. And so thankfully I have a 1-year old daughter that I have to drive to daycare, and that's 30 minutes away. And so there's 30 minutes of
She's listening to that too. She's gonna be the best entrepreneur. Same with my kids. They're like, "Daddy, what are you listening to?" I said, "It's like, look." I get all jazzed about it, and they're
Yeah.
they're
So
like,
her and my son, who's 5, he's listened to like a bunch of audiobooks. He's now at his age, he's participated in meetings and stuff like
"Oh,
that
cool."
on the road and
Right.
everything. And like it's also interesting to see like that you can work, business, and family can mesh together,
Yeah.
as long as you do it harmoniously and do it with good
Yeah.
intentions. And there's respect on calls, just like as you would expect your children to respect their teachers and everything else.
Yeah.
People on calls need to respect people on calls and all that stuff. And so like there's no cursing or anything like that. And like, but that's not the people that I try to
And I do think there's such a misconception with entrepreneurs not being there for their families. Like maybe 50 years ago when they had to travel and
yeah,
we didn't have all the technology we have now.
we got a lot of tools now.
We got a lot of tools that they could be a part of. And then when it's time for intentional parent kid,
Yeah.
it's like your phone's off and you can spend that other time.
Yeah.
But them seeing the results and the process of it,
Yeah.
I do think it's an amazing thing. So
Yeah.
audio's one aspect of it. Tell me more to help an entrepreneur out of thinking bigger, having reading these books. Like what other day-to-day thing do you do to grow that mind and
I,
take on bigger risks and take on bigger challenges?
I would say surrounding yourself with the right people is also the next most critical thing. And so you can learn everything under the sun, but if you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, it'd be hard to implement what you learn, right? And so there's the saying that you are like, show me your 5 closest friends, I'm going to show you, I can tell you who you are, kind of thing. It's like you are who you're hanging around with. And it's very evident if you go back to the CrossFit days, like when I was deep into CrossFit, deep into the gym, I'd never been more stronger in my life. And then once I stopped, or I focused more on one other company, and I stopped going to the gym as not as much, and I didn't see those close friends as much just because I was pulled into something else. Well, it was interesting to see, like, well, no, my fitness actually kind of decreased a little bit, and I had to focus harder on getting into shape more. And so surrounding yourself with like-minded people, growth-oriented people, um, individuals that have the same goals as you, that is one of the key ingredients, I want to say, to success. And I'm still working on that. I think we all are. Everyone always tries to be, or should try to always be, the dumbest person in the room. Try to learn from everybody. Unfortunately, there's always going to be then smarter people in the room, and they feel like they're in the wrong room at that point, if you follow that kind of mindset. But always try to learn from people. But I guess it's there's also the saying of, if you make it to the top, don't forget to send down the elevator though. And so you still need to mentor. You still need to, just, I guess, as you're doing with the podcast too, of like getting out to other entrepreneurs and founders and giving them a little bit of insights as to how to start a company, what to look at, content, marketing, legal documents. We've kind of touched on a ton of things. If you surround yourself with those people, or if you follow those people, or you try to teach other people that are they're trying to do the same thing as you, that is
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because this conversation, everything you say is like check mark, because I've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
This thing that it just, like, it's a comfort thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I've been around it and I love it, and this
A love
is
language.
it's my fucking love language.
Yeah.
This past week I met with creators who have been building their personal brand for the last 10 years. So this game, I never want to say I'm at the top, but it's a comfort at, I could speak to a lot of people about it, and it just rolls off my tongue. Entering a different room with 5 other people that have been in the game for 10 years and I've been in it for a year. Holy fuck.
The tides have turned.
I'm like, I sat there.
Yeah.
I'm just like kind of overwhelmed of where they're at, and knowing how much work it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Completely fine with it, but being like, yeah, there's different parts to this game that really, they're not having the conversation of like consistency about the sweater choices. They're talking about the algorithm on TikTok, and it was a whole different fucking level. So yeah, for sure. Now I kind of want to surround myself with creators and individuals so I can up level myself while still maintaining my entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
Because I do think the way of the future is distribution, and I do think personal brand is distribution.
Yeah.
Especially with AI coming, so I'm diving so hard into that. But also matching it with finance, accounting, taxes. Like, this goes so unnoticed, and a lot of entrepreneurs forget about it because they're making money. But what do they do after they make money?
Yeah.
Like, it's not sexy. I try to make my accounting company sexy from day one. It's not fucking sexy. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people avoid that because it's something they don't want to be a part of, but it's so important to hire people like you to kind of take that and kind of run with it so that they could do what they do best.
Yeah.
And then unblock all those things.
Yeah.
So from a growth mindset perspective, the audios, the 5 closest friends, or the group that you want to be a part of, any other thing that you kind of do on a day-to-day basis or think about to help an entrepreneur think bigger?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I've adopted in 2025 that were new to me, and I'm still, the word grappling is not the right word, but like still trying to put it into my day to day. Is to like list them off, like gratitude journaling, and so like acknowledging the stuff that you're grateful for. There's an interesting mindset to that, where If you are writing down stuff that you are grateful for, there is no possible way that you can feel angry or to feel that you're not getting something, like, and to the point where it's, I'm thankful for a roof over my head. I'm thankful for the breakfast that I had today, or I'm thankful for clean drinking water. Like,
Yeah.
you can go granular, or you can go high and just say, like, I'm thankful for freedom, or I'm thankful for the breath today.
Right.
You can feel great about yourself. And so that was something that I hadn't been doing. I've never done that before, and I've heard so much about it, and people talk about it. It's like, you know what? Let's try that. The other one is goal setting on a regular basis. I'm not really good at that, but I try to. So I do have a journal on my desk that I try to do as much goal
So
setting as
going back
possible.
to gratitude, is this something you practice every like
I
morning?
try to, yeah. So gratitude every morning, goal setting every morning, and the goal setting could be the same goals every single day that you're writing them out, saying, I'm going to grow Soutar Capital. I'm going to make $10 million in revenue, like whatever it is, and just
Why writing it out?
it there is, and I'm not the right person to talk about the kind of the science behind it, but if you are, the first step of any problem, to solving any problem, is writing it down. If you were able to identify what the problem is, or to put your thoughts down, you've done the first step. You've put it out there, so it's out of your head. It's not taking up mental real estate. It shouldn't, because now it's sitting on paper. You just read it. It's right there. And then if you can keep that going, it'll keep instilling on a daily basis or on a regular basis of what your goals are. What are you trying to do? You can put your impossible goal in there. I want to 10x my company. I want $10 million. And so you can focus on those. So gratitude, goal setting, and more recently, I've put working out into my morning routines, because I've found that with young children at the house, come the end of the day after their school day, and us putting family time. So family time is in my calendars. Like, I have everything in my calendars.
Nice.
I have that slot. So family time is in there. After the kids are in bed, well, the wife and I still need to clean the house, make it presentable so that the kids can wake up to a nice clean house and everything else. So that doing that whole routine, I'm really exhausted at the end of the day, and I find it hard to do a workout at the end of the day. So I'm trying to put it at the beginning. Um, but there's a lot of studies that also suggest that, one, if, like, just by doing that one thing in the morning, by doing a workout, you've accomplished something at the beginning of the day. It's just like how the military says, make your bed every morning.
Yeah.
You could have the worst fucking day afterwards, but you can at least say, I made my bed. I did that. I accomplished something today.
Yeah.
So if you can do a workout at the beginning of the day, not only is it good for your health and everything else that is related to it, but you've checked off that one accomplishment, and that sets the tone for the day. And so I was always, before working out, I was still jumping on my computer and trying to tackle whatever the the big rock was for the day, or trying to tackle something. So I could say, before my kids get up at 6 or 6:30 a.m., I've already done something. So also, I wake up early now because I have children.
Oh, and what time's the wake up?
This morning was at 4:30,
Mm.
but normally it's at like 5. I would say, like, is the norm. It gives me enough time before the kids could possibly start waking up at the 6:30. But yeah,
And at 5 a.m., are you hitting a CrossFit
yeah,
workout now? Yeah.
yeah. Go into the garage when it's cold and put on the heater. And
So it's within your house,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Just from a convenience perspective.
yeah. Well, because obviously I started a CrossFit gym. I've since sold my shares in the CrossFit
Okay.
gym, but I'm still connected with them. But to get to the gym, do that workout, and come home or go to work afterwards. Well, one, I still have children, so I can't, to go to the gym and come back would be very hard, just from a distance standpoint. And so it's that convenience part. It's like, how do you stack as many possible value add items
Yeah.
into a day so that you're accomplishing everything you need to feel successful, to be successful, to hit your goals, and to help your clients, or to run your business and go from there. But
And I do think I'm a early bird too. I played Division I soccer in the States, and I always remember my coach, and maybe it's ingrained to me, like, you sleep when you're dead type of thing, which it is what it is. But yeah, 5 a.m. I'm up, and the first thing I do is go to the gym, and I swear the world can throw anything at me. I am freaking ready for it.
Yeah.
When I don't go, it's just not the same energy, feeling, everything
Yeah.
for whatever reason. I know there's a lot of health benefits with working out, but just having that routine is so big,
Yeah. It's critical.
especially with entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Now, switching the gears a little bit to the serial entrepreneur, which my title on LinkedIn says serial entrepreneur to me too. And it's funny because I've been over 10 years laser focused on one business, but I bought real estate every year for 10 years. And it was a passive thing to do. And I kind of neglected it because I was so laser focused on one thing.
Mhm.
So I don't even, I consider myself a serial entrepreneur where I'd start another business, but I don't consider myself a serial entrepreneur that I want to take on 3 or 4 businesses. You have multiple businesses.
Yeah.
What's the mindset around that?
Controlled chaos.
Okay.
um, I I try to learn as much from all the main figureheads or professionals or individuals that are out there. One of the things that, and I didn't, growing up, my family didn't have a whole lot. We were rich on love, absolutely, but we didn't have everything that all the other kids might have had. And so that's always been a drive for me. So I've been throughout my adult life is I've been trying to acquire or start businesses that are cash flowing to create wealth for my family that has never been there. It doesn't exist. And so this is first generation wealth if I can create it. um, that's been the kind of the mindset or the goal behind that one. Every business that I started from the ground up. Um, I'm just doing a fact check. Yes, every business that I've started from the ground up. I have bootstrapped it, built the systems, understand the product or the service, build the team out, and disseminate the work amongst the team. So that at a certain point in time, I'm going to use the word automated. It's not automated from a technical standpoint or from an AI standpoint, but it is automated because I either have an accountant, a controller, a director of finance, a director of operations, and somebody taking taking care of what needs to be done in the business. Where then I can over see everything from a 30,000 foot view, have touch points on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis with team members, always connected. But I can then also focus on the next company and grow the next company, build that one up systematically too. Ultimately, I I I do like the idea of serial entrepreneur when I think of the Warren Buffetts, the Richard Bransons, the Elon Musks, all the bigger names that they have all these companies, these entities, they sit on the boards, they oversee the operations, they have a thumb on the pulse, they know what the business is. That's one of my like ultimate goals is to
Mm.
have that high level board of colleagues and professionals that I work with, that I sit with, and we own all these businesses and we're operating them to the best of our abilities, which is going to be like rock stars because we know them inside and out and we know how to run a business and we know how to maximize businesses. And that's what I want to ultimately do as a serial entrepreneur. There's so many benefits below that though too. It's like, yes, I want to do all this, but each company still has staff, right? All those staff have families. So you're creating a lifestyle for those families and those people and you're paying them. And so like there's a lot of responsibility for kind of owning all the businesses, but I also see it as
A joy.
yeah, as a joy.
Yeah.
You're creating something that other people get to benefit from.
Yeah.
Like every person you give a job for, they are benefiting from
Yeah.
that. They don't have to. They can choose not to be there.
Right.
Hopefully, they want to be there because you created a culture and environment and something that they love and they can thrive in. And yes, some things aren't sexy like accounting firms and everything, but the boring businesses, the non-sexy businesses, are some of the backbones of our of our society.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And your purpose is wealth generation for your kids.
I would, for the for the family.
For the family.
Because I can't just say it's kids.
Right.
Because one of my mentors always said, you got to invest in people. He said that to me when I was in university, and that stuck with me for a very long time. And I actually had a conversation with him last month, telling him that I wanted to do something that I was thinking of. And he's like, Kyle, he's like, you're going to invest in somebody. I was like, yeah, I'm going to invest in somebody. And it's not to make money off of them. No, it's like you give them something in hopes that you get it back,
Right.
not with a gain or for it to be advantageous, but it's you're giving it back to people, and you can do that kind of stuff. And so,
And you were brought up with full of love, but might not have had everything growing up.
yeah,
Do you think it's beneficial to give your kids?
they'll never know. They'll never know what's behind the scene, or like what the essence of it is. Like, yes, they'll start to see stuff, but it's like my son will never know that he has an RESP. You don't need to tell your kids that. You can create that for them. You can use it for them. You can use it with them. They don't need to know about it. And so it's I need whatever I had, or whatever we had, the individuals that didn't have a bank account that was able to pay for university. As an example, I had to work 3 jobs. I only went to my classes at 7 p.m. I did the 7 to 10s.
Will your son have to do that?
I need him to I need him to be able to afford whatever his next steps are, because university might not be the next step. It could be a college. It could be start a business right off the bat. I want to make sure that he's successful, and I will make sure that he's pushing for that. But I'm going to make sure that he does it on his own. He'll always have a safety net, hopefully, but he'll never know that safety net's there.
And why I say that, because it scares the shit for me.
Yeah.
Like, I had to, like, for example, my university in the States was $35,000.
Yeah.
My parents didn't have $35,000 American to give me per year to go away.
No.
If I didn't get a scholarship that covered 95% or equivalent to what the Canadian university was at the time, I wasn't going.
That's non-starter.
I was so driven to go. I broke down so many boundaries and barriers to get there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the safety net.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous for my kids because I am doing the RESP, I'm doing the TFA, I'm doing all the things to give them a safety net. But at the same time, on the back of my mind, I'm like, fuck, that is my purpose for generational wealth and leaving legacies. Like I do, it resonates with me.
Yeah.
But I want them to be hungry too.
Yeah. So that's you don't show it to them, or whatever you can do to limit their
visibility,
visibility, because it's not the accessibility, because they're always accessible, but it's like the visibility to it. That's the one, like as young parents, that's what we need to learn.
And it's hard because when you have a growth mindset, sometimes I want more. I want to level up. Yeah. Maybe your house, you want to level up, or, it is material in some degrees, and it's business in other degrees, and mindset. It's all around the life. So yeah, it's a fighting thing with me right now, for sure, of saying yes and no to a lot of things.
Yeah. One of the things that we're going to start with, I'm going to start with my son in the summer coming up. So we're going into the winter now. It's going to be the summer in 6 months. We're going to start his first business. So we're going to plant that kind of that entrepreneurial seed right off the bat. I'm saying my son because he's 5 and my daughter's 1, so she's not going to start a business yet. In 4 years, it'll be the same thing.
Well, if he needs a partner, my son's 5 too, so they can go in partnership.
Yeah, but and I forget who I read this from. It bugs me that I can't, because it was such a crucial piece of information. But so I kind of remember being raised with allowances, but at that point, if it's not structured properly, you're just being given money to do normal things to sustain your own house and cleanliness and all that stuff. And so if you give your kids something called a gig, there could be in-house gigs that they have to do, which can create money. And so yes, you can make some money by doing something that would be outside of the norm of what you need to do for cleanliness or for just your proper living, or like the kind of chores in the house. And then once you've accomplished the house gigs, you can do community gigs. And so one of the things at our house that my son does is he dethatches the lawn. And so he will do that. He started doing that when he was 3. And so like there's not too much you can screw up with that. And then he did when he was 4. And so and to the point where everyone has passed our house and going like, wow, would he do our laneway
Wow.
or our lawn? I'd be like, absolutely. I was like, he's going to be starting a business soon. And so I'm going to start to teach him the roads of starting a business, what it is to create value, what it is to provide a service in exchange for money, for the intent to grow something. And maybe when he is 8, 9, 10, he might have some of his friends doing it with him, and they're now covering the whole block or 2 blocks or whatever is a safe kind of radius around our house, whether it's with supervision or not, depending on their age. But those are the things that I would like to teach my kids, because it's another one thing that kids aren't learning in school is financial literacy.
100%. And I love that approach of, instead of kind of taking your scenario and multiplying it, it's now you're going to teach them how to grow a business and create.
Yeah.
And that's a different mindset, right? Like it's a different from scarcity to create, abundance, grow, right? So I'm going to leverage that. Thanks.
No, absolutely. And that's like,
and it goes back to that first point of tying your business with your life, right? Like I see how you're doing it across the board, and you're representing yourself and doing it for you, then can translate that into clients as well. Right? Like, are you investing in RESPs? Like, out of your business, what else is it generating from a tax savings perspective, from a credit perspective? Like, there's so many things the Canadian government has offered or does offer that people are not leveraging. And it's not just the shred credits, it's the TFSAs, the RESPs, the RRSPs. Like, there's so much more from an overall picture that people don't think of.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's a way to like, you can implement some of those things into a business for employee benefits, as an example, for providing RRSPs to people, and they can use those for first-time home buyer credits, or whether it's the lifelong learning credit. And there's so many other aspects to or opportunities that, as an entrepreneur and a founder or an owner of a company, you can give your employees, which is helpful to know. But again, not everyone knows about all the tools that are out there.
And to know all the tools, like, you have to be in it. Like, even myself, I'm still learning every day, and that's all I think about is the numbers and how to manage everything. So someone that is not in it, even 50%, there's so many things out there. So leveraging a professional like you is definitely the right thing. Is there anything I missed before we get into the lightning round?
No, I don't think so. No.
We talked about a lot. So we always do a lightning round where I ask you a specific question, and it's kind of just a fire chat type of thing. In one sentence, what's your unfair advantage right now?
What's my unfair advantage? My good looks. I'm kidding.
I interview a lot of creators that are women, and none of them have ever said that. So coming from a guy, that's
sense of humor is there. You go. The next one, but no, I guess one thing that we didn't dive into about for my for a sense of advantage would be I actually have I have severe dyslexia.
Okay.
And so I've had to learn more about my brain than most people would normally do, and that has given me I want honestly like a weapon on itself. And so that's been something that is like, it was adversity that I had to face. And how do you get over it, and what do you do to work with it, learn and grow with it? And that put me on a kind of a fast track to the drive and everything else.
So like asking your brain what in different situations, understanding your thought process.
Yeah, well,
That
and that,
interesting.
but it's also like, how does it process information? How does it acknowledge something? How does it acknowledge a color, a word, a letter? Um, I've gone deep into that just because it was something that went undiagnosed for a long time, just because it was that's a stigma of learning disabilities and everything. Never got diagnosed until I realized that it was like, what the hell's wrong? There's something wrong here. Just being an intelligent person.
And how recently was that?
So I had to I self identified it in university
Okay.
because I was like, why are my friends? And I hate to say it, some of them I was like, fuck, like you're not smarter than me. And I was like, how is this easier for you? And I'm struggling like on the side. And so go see the psychologist. And yeah, I passed with flank. I was like, oh yeah, you have severe dyslexia. I had passed twice because at the time I was at the University of Ottawa, and they're like, we don't acknowledge this particular clinic. They're like, you have to go over here. And I was like, okay, go back over to another one, get another
Scary.
diagnosis, and they're like, same results. And I was like, here you go, you get both reports.
Do you think so? Do you, for entrepreneurship, what they say, it's like a huge competitive advantage.
Yeah, so like that, yeah, that's because like it's the
Why?
well, it's I think of things differently, I guess. I see things differently right off the bat. And I know that there's a reason why I see certain things differently, and so I will self-assess those or dive into them, or I'll do that kind of 360 really quickly on something too. And it's just kind of it's a natural instinct because I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, seeing it wrong, reading it wrong, and it's something that I'll do quickly on certain things. Do a fact check on something real quick, even as I did in like the conversation.
Right.
But yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
What business belief did you reverse recently and why, if any?
I don't think I've ever. I don't think I've reversed a business belief. Although actually, being the nice guy is not always the best thing. Paper everything because you get burned by some people that just don't have the same moral fibers as you.
You have an example?
I do, but I can't say them all.
Okay. Okay, this one probably resonates with you. One KPI you watch weekly and one you stop caring about.
Well, bank balances. So I look at every single bank balance for every single account that is under my purview every single day. Whether it's mine, like my personal one, my family one, investments, clients, my businesses, doesn't matter. I still look at every single one of them. Everyone should. That's something that if someone doesn't do that, you should always be looking at your money every single day to know where it is, to just know what you're doing. Is it going down? Is it going up? And you have that thumb on the pulse always. Um, and one thing that I don't monitor, but I maybe should, is the reach and engagement and everything else from a social media standpoint. I'm trying to grow a business. Well, I'm trying to grow multiple businesses, but I'm really trying to grow Soutar Capital, and I'm doing content out there. And um,
What is your content strategy for, like, do you have a content strategy or is it kind of,
I don't I don't know how to even answer that. That's how kind of new I am to this. I would say that I'm trying to put content out there that shows viewers or shows anybody that's looking at my content that uh, this is what a CFO might look at. This is how a CFO might help. This is how I have helped clients, and so on and so forth. But it's again, this is one of the industries that I'm not familiar with, and I'm trying to learn as much as possible. So I can learn from you.
it's crazy because there's, I mean, I think there's no one there's not too many people in the space that are doing it effectively from a content creations perspective, especially in the accounting, CFO, financial, like that space.
Yeah,
That being an early adopter is number one. Are you trying to build the brand or building a personal brand or like,
it's the personal brand, I guess. But so everything is on my own feeds. So Kyle Soutar. And it's always in reference to Soutar Capital. And so it's trying to say like that whether my personal brand is Fractional CFO and CFO for hire and able to scale your business and make you more profitable, or we're focusing on Soutar Capital. I don't know how to differentiate the personal versus the professional, but
Yes. And actually, there's one episode I'll send you with Imran. He owns Canadian sports martial arts here.
okay.
And we go deep into personal brand versus business brand.
Okay.
And his thought process on when to post for the business brand and when to post for the personal brand. He's been doing it for the last 3-4 years.
Okay.
And it's built such a community doing it that way.
Excellent.
That I'll send it to you and
Yeah.
see if it,
Yeah.
there's stuff there.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I only have a personal brand right now, so it's easier. But posting non-business related, posting anything business related, like podcasts and all this stuff, I could post it no problem. Posting about myself,
Yeah, that's the tough part, eh?
it's like
Yeah.
for other people, it's easy.
Yeah.
For me, it's like
Yeah.
really, it was really hard at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it's like people are seeing me in a different light. Are they gonna not trust my? It wasn't even about the judgment. It was more about like my knowledge towards a topic. It's like, are they gonna be less trustworthy towards my knowledge if I post something about me working out or
Yeah.
me doing stuff that's not related with business and that whole?
Or does it make you more relatable? I guess is the
Well, it definitely makes you more relatable, right?
Yeah.
But like, how much more relatable versus the trust thing? But
yeah.
it going through it for the last year definitely makes you more relatable, and it adds even more trust to everything in your business. So definitely keep it on. In regards to social media, is there one cringe post that you kept that led to a paying client? Like, has there been one post that you look back at like, oh, like, should I posted it? Should I not have posted it?
No, and so there's no specific post that I've made that it led to a specific client. There has been multiple clients that have said, "Hey, I've seen you and your posts recently, and now I didn't know you were specifically in this realm. Can we have a conversation?" It's like, absolutely. And that was the whole intent behind starting to post. It was just to create relevance, if that makes sense. And again, I'm an accountant by trade, entrepreneur at heart. I don't know much about the marketing side of things, but it's if you can create relevance and people can see you out there, or when they hear your name and they search you and they see you have content or they see that you've talked about things, you're not just quote unquote nobody, not like non-seen. They have something to look at and like, okay, it is a person. They do speak about these items. They might have some knowledge for me or expertise that I can absorb. And so like it was that has led to a lot of clients and outreach.
And are you on LinkedIn, Instagram?
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook are I would say the only three that I'm actually on. I don't
Posting regularly?
Regularly, like meaning like every day.
Yeah, or how many times a week?
I'd say like at least try to do once a week.
Okay.
For business content, I'm trying to put like more personal stuff out there too, as we just kind of talked about. And it's like it is tough for me though, but that has the largest engagement. I know that.
Yeah.
I've been told. So
You need 10K in new revenue in 30 days with $0 in ad spend. What's your first move?
cold call. And just as a quick answer, but reach out to colleagues, individuals, past contacts, touch in with them, saying like, so if I was talking about Soutar Capital, saying like, hey, we're in Q4. I'm looking at my budgets. I'm looking at my year ends wrapping up. I'm setting my goals for 2026. I'm ending the year in fifth gear. Wondering about you. How's everything going on your end? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about, and lead that conversation hopefully into a potential, more than a potential prospect, and bring them into onboarding.
So you would leverage your audience
Yep.
and do a fast action kind of thing.
Yeah.
To
and
put some pressure on it.
Yeah, and arguably like almost anybody in the service industry should be prospecting continuously, because you're planting seeds with a lot of your prospects. You're not just kind of as I see it though. It's not just always like sell like right off the bat. It's you meet somebody, they hear about you, they think about it for a little bit, and then they might come back to you. And so like there's a lot of those individuals that I've seen. The churn as a trend right now is between 60 and 90 days that I'm just seeing. That when from initial point of contact to everyone going, I'm all in, we need to do this. But like absolutely.
Mm.
But I also I don't push for many sales, and it's a lot of it is word of mouth and referrals and people just hearing about it. Um, People typically come to us that want to be there and need, and they're in some sort of a not a crisis mode, but they have a specific objectives. They need to 10x their company. They have a cash flow issue that they're just like it doesn't make sense, and or their revenues are up but their profits are down. Like they're questioning what's happening and they want some expertise.
And it's funny because I'm like yourself, where I I put everything out there, and when it's time for someone to come, they'll come, and I'll close them that way.
Yeah.
Versus the aggressive salesperson. But I guarantee with this question, there's probably 10 people that you know that if this happened to you where you had to make $10,000 in 30 days,
Yeah.
you'd probably get 50,000 and five.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur too, it's like, are
Why
you
not doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's that impossible goal at that point. It's like,
Yeah.
do you want to do $10 million
Right.
in a year? Well, then you need to
You're
start
gonna
doing
call,
that.
yeah.
But if you want to do that, then you can't be doing the calls. You need a whole bunch of other people pushing that funnel into it,
Yeah.
or selling to a large a liaise. So selling your not your you don't sell your services, but you work with a bank, and then the bank then refers you to all their clients saying, we have a fractional CFO that will align your books, who will work with modeling, who will help you with financing obligations.
And did you watch Buying Back Your Time with Dan? Did you read?
Yep.
Is that why you have an account, an assistant?
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because I've been working with Chantel, I think.
Yeah.
She's been awesome. And
Okay. Good.
seeing how, she followed a lot, like you can definitely tie your brand to her from the small interaction that
Yeah.
I saw with her. But it was definitely refreshing because I do feel sometimes like the business owner's running around doing his thing, the organization kind of,
Takes a back seat.
yeah,
Yep.
which she made it a front seat,
Yeah.
which elevated your brand too. So.
Yeah.
And then finally, if you left a sticky note to your younger self on your first laptop, what would it say?
There's too many things to put on one sticky note, eh?
Just
But
one thing.
I would say something along the lines of like either never give up or keep pushing. There are so many hiccups, constraints, challenges. You can list them all. Like there's so many to get to the win, to get to that big win, or to like get to a couple wins. Um, and it can be taxing. I know you know that.
Yeah.
You've experienced it personally, and like other entrepreneurs have experienced. There's no entrepreneur that hasn't experienced it.
Right.
So that it's that, and it takes a different mindset. It takes a different person to be able to take those lulls, those hits, those blows, because sometimes they put you down. But you got to get up. You got to keep pushing. Gary Vee kind of says it great. It's like just stick out your fist, turn them around, stick up your finger, and say fuck everybody. And we all suck. Everyone sucks at something. Okay, but just get on with it and keep going and keep putting it out there, and it will eventually come. If you are a good person, if you have a good heart, if you have good intentions, it will come. Yeah.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy day to come here. I really appreciate it. The knowledge you have, your passion. I mean, anyone that works with you definitely is getting the whole 150% of you.
Yeah.
So definitely felt it in this conversation big time. And no,
Shirts.
yeah, literally, yeah. If anyone is looking for your services or to get hold of you, what's the best way to contact you, look you up?
So the website, which we recently redid, which is it looks fantastic, but so soutarcapital.com, or if they email us, it would be info@Soutar Capital. Would love to hear from anybody, whether it's feedback, whether it's life stories, whether it's opportunities. we are here to connect with our community. We're obviously in Ottawa, in the nation's capital, but we do have clients across Canada. We worked with businesses from all the way from BC to Nova Scotia. I worked with businesses in the US, so we don't isolate ourselves, and we do have experience for across the board, and we welcome anybody and everybody.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
Share this with a friend so that they could be a part of this journey too. Keep watching for more.